Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Duel of the Takes. I'm excited for this. We haven't done this format in months, it feels like. Months and months, eons of sorts. We are doing another Kill, Fuck, Marry with the little wheel. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are joined by a member of the M2J2 project, Mike Speranzo.
Hey, what's going on?
Are you excited to talk about some Marvel villains?
Yeah, I mean, as much as anyone could be, talk about a Marvel villain.
True.
I'm excited for this format. So the way it works, we all randomly get assigned 3 Marvel villains, and then we have to decide whether we would kill, fuck, or marry them. If you think about it, it's kind of just separating them into 3 tiers. Great villains, good villains, and bad villains. You can look at it however you want. But this should be a lot of fun. And it's one that we don't take too seriously. At the end, we will be ranking all of these Marvel villains from best to worst, and that little kill, fuck, marry element makes it very chaotic. Who wants to do the honors of going first?
Me.
Oh, Alden will go first.
Alden's going first. All right, Alden. Your first Marvel villain is... All right, Killmonger. I see you.
Nice.
Nice.
Your second Marvel villain is Malekith.
Cool.
And your third Marvel villain for this round is Zemo. Okay, so you're working with Zemo, Killmonger, and Malekith. Kill fucking Mary. Let's hear it.
Which one's Malekith?
I'm killing
Malekith is from Thor 2 Dark World.
Oh.
He's played by Christopher Eccleston, I believe.
He looks like George Washington.
Malekith got killed. All right.
Yeah, I think I'm marrying Zemo and fucking Killmonger.
Epic.
Whoa.
He's got all those little bumps and scars. It sounds like it's going to be oddly textured.
It'd be a good time, but a nightmare, like textilely.
I mean, if you want someone big and strong who can throw you off of a cliff, I feel like Killmonger's your guy.
True.
I mean, Zemo will take you to some cool clubs, and you'll have to pretend to like a disgusting shot.
That's fine, though.
I mean, isn't he like Eastern European? I'm pretty sure he just shoots vodka. What's he drinking the show?
Sam Wilson in the show has to go disguised as some villain, and what's in the shot, Alden? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
It looked disgusting.
I love that the official Marvel YouTube page like added like an hour-long clip of Zemo dancing that was like a shitty loop like the week after that episode premiered. I love Daniel Bruhl. He's like probably my favorite part of what's that movie?
Cloverfield Paradox?
Yeah, hit that one.
He's cool as Niki Lauda as well.
I'm happy to see him in the MCU moving forward. Hopefully they do more with him. I like when he's playing like a villain and pinning people against each other as opposed to like part of the team, but who knows?
I don't think you'll see him as a villain again.
Oh, is he dead now?
No, it's just people's like the Marvel curse is that the minute someone simps over you, you're suddenly like a weird, like quirky sort of hero, sort of villain. That's what happened with Loki. And it happened with him as well.
That's true.
The reception on him was too positive as a sort of friend, part of the team character that he's not going back.
Damn, that's unfortunate. I love Marvel's decisions. Josh, you want to go next?
Sure.
All right. Your first Marvel villain is none other than Yellow Jacket.
Oh, nice.
Your next villain is Loki. Okay. And you got Yellow Jacket, Loki, and your third and final MCU villain for this round is none other than Red Skull.
Okay. The design of Yellow Jacket's suit, but that's really about it. I think I gotta kill him.
You're killing Yellow Jacket?
This might be a hot take, but Red Skull is the villain of one of my favorite MCU movies, and I wish we got more of Red Skull. And I think he's underrated in this universe. I'm gonna marry Red Skull.
Ooh.
Wow. And Loki's getting fucked. Speaking of, Marvel villains that kind of turned hero and never went back to being villains, there he is. The redeemed himself.
Yeah, there he goes. I think right where he should be.
I mean, he was the villain of the first Avengers movie. That's kind of a big deal.
It is.
He committed mass murder.
They kind of make that movie as a joke in the universe now. I remember that scene in Endgame where Rocket made fun of that's the weakest army ever. It's weird how that universe now like views the events of the first Avengers movie.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also weird that they're bringing back stuff like all the way from the beginning of Phase 1 in Shang-Chi. Like, you have Abomination coming back, and then they also have the fake Mandarin coming back from, like, Iron Man 3, which is, like, the redheaded stepchild of this franchise. It's very weird how they're bringing stuff like that back in the same world where they look at Avengers 2012 as a meme.
True.
You know, it'd be really funny if, like, the Deadpool 3 teaser trailer or whatever that's going to end up being, since Marvel confirmed that they're bringing Ryan Reynolds back for a third Deadpool movie. It'd be really funny if it was just, like, a trailer reaction to him watching the original Avengers trailer, because we've joked about it many times on the show now. It's really fucking bad. It has, like, some rip-off Nickelback song in it. It's a product of, like, 2005 and not 2012.
True. Mike, go back and watch that trailer. It's such a meme.
I will.
All right, Mike, you ready to go?
Yeah, I am. I'm ready.
Your first MCU villain to either kill, fuck, or marry is... Ooh, the newest one, I think, technically. Zhu Wenwu from Shang-Chi.
The movie Mike hasn't seen.
Me neither.
I gotta be vague enough to talk about this villain that I watched it.
You also got Caecilius from Doctor Strange.
Oh, Mads Mikkelsen, right?
Yep.
What a waste.
I mean, he's coming back in Doctor Strange 2.
Really?
Oh, good.
And Ghost from, was this Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I think I'm gonna get this out of the way first, and that's that my obvious favorite of the three has to go to Mads. You know, of course it does. Also, I am an ardent defender of Doctor Strange. I think it is one of the like best MCU movies that there is. It's top 3.
I think it's in our top 5 in the official MCU rankings, right?
It's so good.
Yes, it was my number 6, and it made number 5, I think.
Yeah, I think it was my number 6 also.
With Ghost though, I think Ghost has to go into Ghost's whole thing was very nothing to me. I mean, like, there's stuff there for sure.
Another waste.
I think it really got hit by the why did this movie get made at this time? You know, Ant-Man and the Wasp felt like an afterthought. Like, it felt like they got to that point in the thing and said, "Oh shit, what about him?" Forgot that he was on house arrest or whatever the fuck they said he was doing at the time. I think, like, a writer just spilled coffee on the page of the book and they put it in the trash, and they realized that they put it in the trash by accident. And that's what this whole story feels like. So Ghost just feels unnecessary, and there's a reason why she's never brought up at all, ever, in any conversation, positive or negative, really. So for the sake of apathy, I need to put Ghost and kill. And I guess the Shang-Chi villain will go with fuck. I don't know.
Based.
I like Tony Leung.
Yeah, he's great.
He's actually really good in the movie. He just didn't have a lot of time when it came to like dialogue and scenes. Like, it's like Mads Mikkelsen all over again. Like, there's actually a lot of parallels to me with these two villains.
I need to give him credit there though, because at least with Mads, what I can say is that, like, he didn't do much. Just him being there was this kind of, he's doing what he can with what he has. And I think that's commendable, if nothing else.
I also like the design, like the makeup and stuff they do around the eyes is recognizable.
It's cool looking. It's something.
Yeah, sweet. So Ghost is killed. Zhu Wenwu is in the fuck category, kind of, and then we got Caecilius in Mary. It's pretty solid. It's my turn now. Let's see who I got. Oh boy. I got Taskmaster first.
Nice.
Okay. Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture from Homecoming, and Alexander Pierce from Iron Man 3.
There he is, Guy Pearce.
I love how they just made his last name Pierce. Yeah, I'm going with Guy Pearce for the Mary here.
There it is.
I think that Alexander Pierce is an underrated MCU villain. I don't think he does a ton, but he's definitely the main threat through the whole movie. There's not really anyone else. It's not like a bloated movie in terms of villain, and he's able to...
Yeah, I really like that this character is like a competition to Tony Stark, essentially.
And then, yeah, the Vulture. I like Toomes. I like his character. I think I'm gonna fuck him because I think he plays a good villain. I like that he's like a construction kind of like demolition guy, and he's just in charge of like cleaning up after the Avengers. And at the end of the day, it's Michael Keaton. Like, I'd be a fool to not fuck or marry him. So Big up there. I would not, however, want to be the one dating his daughter. He seems very scary in that scene at the traffic light. And then Taskmaster. Yeah, I'm gonna have to kill Taskmaster. It would be a hard task to actually execute that character, but I don't know. I just don't think the way they handled that character was interesting in the context of the MCU. The coolest thing about it was like this potential robot / like masked killer who has like the powers of the Avengers that don't have any real powers. I thought that was cool, but the execution of it was just, oh, we need a villain that's a heavy, so that way the fat Martin Scorsese character doesn't get his shit rocked, and that's the only villain. And I really think there could have been a lot more there, and I think it took away from Black Widow, the character's arc, being the reveal that it was the Dreykov's daughter was really dumb, because the one thing that she grieves for in that movie is the fact that she accidentally killed a 9-year-old girl, which would have been really cool to keep, but nope, they save her at the end of the day. So, Taskmaster, I'm sorry. You're a disappointment to me. We're back to you, Alden.
Awesome. Oh, shit.
You got Kingpin, where apparently Vincent D'Onofrio is reprising his role from the Netflix Daredevil series in the upcoming Hawkeye show. So this villain hasn't even made a MCU debut yet, but he's here anyway. Kingpin. You also got, Dreykov, speaking of Black Widow.
Nice.
Man, are you going to get 3 criminal masterminds?
Maybe.
And there he is, Aldrich Killian.
Hmm.
Wait, did I mix up? Alexander Pierce is the Winter Soldier movie. That's Robert Redford's character, and honestly, that's even more based. I'm marrying him anyway. Perfect.
It all worked out.
Now you have Guy Pearce. Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah, Aldrich Killian, that's his name. I had a fucking stroke.
You saw Pierce.
Damn, I forgot the first two.
Aldrich Killian, Kingpin, and Dreykov.
Okay. Killian or Kingpin are the stronger characters. I'll say I'll marry Killian.
All right, based.
And then I'll fuck Kingpin. Then I'll kill Dreykov.
For sure.
All right, man. No love for the Black Widow villains here on our list. I'd be very surprised if we ever saw Aldrich Killian ever again on screen in the MCU. It would be a weird career move for Guy Pearce.
That would be wild. Watch him be in like the end credit scene now of like a teaser trailer for like Hawkeye.
Bruh.
I'm really interested to see if like how they continue using Kingpin, because he even felt weird as like Daredevil progressed, because it's like his arc is pretty good at the end of season 1, and then it's just continued because like Vincent D'Onofrio, do you have nothing better to do? You were in Full Metal Jacket.
And Ed Wood.
And now you're under Jeremy Renner.
Sheesh.
I don't think they've done Kingpin bad on screen yet. I liked him in the Spider-Verse movie. I think Vincent D'Onofrio was one of the better parts of season 1 of Daredevil.
I agree.
And I think Michael Clark Duncan in the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck is actually one of the best things in that movie. I'm excited to see how they use Kingpin. I don't think he's going to be like a main baddie, but he's probably going to be affiliated with that like team that Julia Louis-Dreyfus character is probably putting together, would be my guess.
Maybe.
But maybe not, too. He's kind of his own thing. So that would be weird to see him team up with like a makeshift antagonistic Avengers, seeing as how he only really fights when he needs to. But yeah, he's definitely better than Dreykov, I think. I feel like if Dreykov really had as much of an impact in like the world as they imply in Black Widow, I feel like his name should have been dropped like more frequently. Like he was this like underlying power that was like terrorizing the world and they could never like locate. He kind of just felt like tacked on to everything.
Yeah.
But I think he was a better villain than Taskmaster.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Josh, you ready for round 2? Oop, it was Agatha all along.
There she is.
Your next MCU villain is the fake Mandarin / Trevor Slattery from Iron Man 3.
Oh, man.
And your final MCU villain of this round is none other than LaFay from the first Thor movie.
Huh.
I'm killing LaFay. Both Agatha and the fake Mandarin, are just a lot more, more well-known in this universe when it comes to fans.
They're both like surprise villains, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As the biggest Iron Man 3 fan here, I have to put the fake Mandarin in this because I think it was a great twist. And the people who didn't like the twist, I think, overreacted to it.
Thank you.
I thought I thought it was so funny.
It was out of nowhere. I loved it.
It was a risk, and that's what the MCU doesn't do anymore, is risk.
Are we gonna sit and pretend that like an actual Mandarin on screen in what year did Iron Man 3 come out? 2013? Possibly the most racist Chinese character of a villain on screen ever, and we were just gonna be like, yeah, that's the Mandarin. Bro, his name is the fucking Mandarin.
I won't spoil anything because I haven't seen the movie myself yet, but yeah, he's back. He's already on this list technically. They don't call him that. And so I guess that means you're fucking Agatha. What'd you think of her reveal in the whatever show about WandaVision?
I think the actress herself is very funny. I've seen her in other stuff that I've really liked, but
Yeah, I love Catherine Hahn. She's hilarious.
I think the series finale of WandaVision was a bit of a bro moment, and even the fans of WandaVision, some of them kind of agree that the finale was just a bit of a and that's what I think of when I think of Agatha. I think of that weird finale that was just okay.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, it's back to you, Mike.
Yes, it is.
Your first MCU villain of round 2 is Dormammu.
I've come to bargain.
Another Doctor Strange villain.
All right.
You've also got Hela from Thor 3 Ragnarok.
From the not comedian director, Taika Waititi.
And you've got Contessa Valentina Algrea de Fontaine, aka Elaine from Seinfeld. Or Veep, who is the new Nick Fury for an evil Avengers initiative.
Let's figure out what to address first. Yeah, let's talk about, fake Nick Fury first. That's fine. So, I think that is such a lazy idea that could have been fun if it was like done right in the beginning. If there was a theory that, oh look, we're getting a villain team brought up alongside the Avengers, like while it was happening at the same time, it might have been a cool like early Avengers threat, kind of a Sinister Six type situation. But it's kind of late now because I don't fucking care who she gets now. They already fought like Thanos and shit. It's gonna feel like D-list villains, even if they put A-list villains in there. I guess that I had Dormammu and
Hela from Thor Ragnarok.
Hela. That's Kate Blanchett.
Yes.
I think she is great. I think Hela is fun. She has, and this is going to be a similar thing with Dormammu, she has like no time to really do anything. Her aesthetic is cool. Her shit with Carl Urban is cool.
I forgot Carl Urban was in that movie.
She just kind of shows up and just is evil, which I guess is kind of fun. It's a little bit refreshing from, and I'm sure one of you guys will get to her in the future, but from like what Marvel tried to pull in Falcon and Winter Soldier with a very fake deepness to their characters. I kind of appreciate a character. It's like, no, this one's evil. Dormammu was like barely in that movie, but it has probably my favorite villain face off of any Marvel movie because it's interesting. It's at least something.
Yeah. It's a way different like take on a confrontation with a villain. Like we haven't seen anything like that.
The design of Dormammu is so cool.
But by that logic, though, I think I'm gonna marry Dormammu.
Nice.
I'm gonna marry Dormammu. I think I'm gonna fuck Hela, and I think I'm gonna murder Contessa
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. What a mouthful. Sweet. I agree. Oh boy, there's still a lot of big villains left.
This is gonna be interesting.
Yo, I got Whiplash. All right. One of my sleeper favorite villains of the MCU.
Why?
We all asked that question, Mike.
I also got General Ross.
Brr, not Sam Elliott.
And my third and final villain for this round is Abomination. Wow, I got two Incredible Hulk villains in one round.
All three Phase 1 villains.
Talk about the Incredible Hulk. We'll wait.
Well, I will say General Ross was a pretty like stereotypical, hey, I'm a military general. I want to know what Banner's making in that lab. I want to use that gamma power for my military type. character. I don't think he really was as big of an importance in that movie as he's later become. Again, we see him bring up the Sokovia Records in Civil War, and as interesting as that is, and horribly mishandled as it was in the MCU, I don't think that he was the worst choice to bring someone back and kind of
Yeah, it made a lot of sense. And now he's the Secretary of State in the MCU.
Yes, and he's also chasing down Black Widow in Black Widow, which is a scene that I almost forgot about because it's his third appearance in the MCU, and I guess he was trying to charge her for the war crimes of Civil War, following up on those threats that he promised. Therefore, I think he's not really a villain in the typical sense. He's never like going out of his way to strip power away from the Avengers. He's just a politician and a general who's doing his best to try to control the superheroes that live within his world. I think that makes him relatively honorable, and I think that William Hurt's a good actor, so I like seeing him in this movie, or in these movies. I don't really care where his character goes, though. I think Whiplash, on the contrary, is pretty underrated. I like that he is this, like... I believe he's a Russian guy who has a lot of like great thinking capacity. I know that he's friends with like a lot of doves and stuff, and he's got the same type of mind that Tony Stark does. He's able to recreate the arc reactor. He's able to make those like jump ropes of electricity. And I think that it made him a pretty threatening presence. I know Alden may or may not be here, but I think that action sequence on the racetrack where they introduce Whiplash as a villain is one of the strongest like early villain face-offs in a movie, as confusing as that scene is. I think that it's a lot of fun.
I agree.
I like watching him slash an entire car in half. It was a cool scene. And Abomination is kind of a mix of these two feelings that I have. I think he's probably a weaker element within Hulk, but it's Tim frickin' Roth, who is an incredible actor, probably the best actor of these three. And I'm excited to see where the MCU takes him moving forward. He's confirmed to be in the She-Hulk show. He showed up in Shang-Chi. Can you guys give me a brief rundown of what happened with Wong and Abomination in Shang-Chi? Because I still haven't seen it.
I guess spoilers, because...
Yeah, spoiler alert. They get in the ring, right? Which can't tell you much about that ring because that's more spoilers, but they are straight up fighting. Like, Wong is in a fight ring with Abomination. After the fight, Wong like takes him through a portal and he's like, you should have pulled your punches. I guess he's training him to like throw matches. I don't know.
This is not where I thought they'd be taking Abomination. He's just a jobber?
I guess. He has to crawl through a small ass portal. It's great.
It doesn't sound as cool as the scene of Whiplash slashing cars in half and nearly killing Tony Stark unarmed. So I gotta put Whiplash and Mary. I'm gonna fuck Abomination. And General Ross, I think we're probably done seeing him. I'd be surprised if he makes another go of things. But, you know, I don't think he's a bad character. I would like to see more characters like him in the MCU. Back to you, Alden, with the third and final round.
Let's go.
You got Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Cool.
You also got racist Captain America, John Walker.
Let's go.
And your third and final villain for this all, the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes himself.
Damn. I'm killing Ronan.
Goodbye, Ronan.
I'm marrying Bucky.
Okay.
Guess I'm fucking John Walker. I definitely think, especially as a villain, Bucky is just much stronger of a character than... especially Ronan, but John Walker too.
Yeah, I mean, he's still like a war criminal within the context of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, if I'm not mistaken. So he's still got to keep his like head down and stuff.
Yep.
And then yeah, John Walker's kind of just a boneless version of the villain of The Boys, in all honesty.
Pretty much.
Shitty Homelander, which is rough because the U.S. agent comics are really solid.
I feel like there's potential there, but we just haven't seen it yet.
They couldn't decide if they wanted him to be a villain or not, I don't think.
Definitely not. I mean, like, they definitely tested the waters both ways.
If they dedicated to, here's a guy here's showing why not everybody can be Captain America and he's not really a villain, he's just bad at it, that would be kind of interesting. If he was straight up a racist, that would be kind of interesting, I guess, in the terms of a story like that. But kind of walking the line like that and dipping your toe into both just makes him boring.
Yeah, I feel like you have to go into the history of the character a whole lot more in order to do the latter effective. And I think that's what they do very, very well with Homelander and The Boys. And to me, the way that they treat John Walker, although I like Kurt Russell's son as an actor, I think he's got a lot of potential, and hopefully they do more with him down the line. I just don't really think they thought that out or developed it enough for it to really be one of the things to go to that show for. It's kind of just something that happens in the show, and his arc is very, very limited, in my opinion.
I agree.
But yeah, Ronan, I mean, come on, it's Blue Loki.
Definitely a background threat, even when he was on screen.
I mean, Thanos, that was Thanos' first, appearance talking as Josh Brolin as Thanos in the first Guardians.
Thought you were going to say Josh Gad.
Josh Gad is Thanos. That's a Marvel What If episode that I'd love to see. What if Thanos sucked?
What if Thanos needed a best man for his wedding?
But once that scene happens, you don't care about Ronan.
No, definitely not. It would be like if you had a Star Wars movie and then Hux was the main villain, which is cool. I don't have a problem with that. Sure, that would be something to do. But even within that, he doesn't make his presence known. He's kind of getting clowned on the entire time.
I'm the spy.
The best scene in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, you're up for your final turn. You've got Jan Rog.
Who?
From Captain Marvel.
Jude Law?
Jude Law's character, yeah.
Spoiler alert, Jude Law was a Pixar third act villain in that movie.
He really was.
The Underminer.
You also got Ulysses Claw.
Cool.
Okay.
And your third and final villain is none other than
Oh, damn.
Obadiah Stane from Iron Man, the Ironmonger.
Jeff Bridges. This is a little tough.
Yeah, I feel like you have three somewhat forgotten about MCU villains right here.
So I have Jeff Bridges, Jude Law, and who was the third one?
Ulysses Claw, who's played by Mocap Man, Andy Serkis.
So I have three actors that I really like.
I was thinking they were going to do more with Claw the entire time he was in the MCU. He shows up in Avengers Age of Ultron, and apparently between that scene and the Thor scene, he has the most amount of deleted footage from that movie.
Damn.
So there was definitely something that was supposed to happen there. And then when he's a reoccurring villain in Black Panther, I was like, oh, cool, we're finally going to see more of him. And then Killmonger said, psych!
Yeah, by the end of Captain Marvel, Jude Law's character's kind of an idiot and he gets wrecked. But by the middle of Black Panther, Claw's kind of an idiot and he gets wrecked. So by that logic, I think Claw's going on the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was much wasted potential. So waste potential that the Jude Law getting wrecked scene was also funnier. Jude Law going in the middle. And yeah, I'll marry Jeff Bridges' Iron Man. Good start for an MCU villain, because right after Jeff Bridges, we had a streak of mediocre villains.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think he definitely made his presence known. It doesn't even look like Jeff Bridges. I've never seen him with a bald head. I always assume he's got medium length to long hair ever since The Big Lebowski, but no. He's I'm going all out for this. I like the scenes where he's picking on the kid from Christmas Story and is like, Iron Man built this shit in a cave.
Yeah.
He's a pretty believable villain too.
Definitely more grounded than the average.
Definitely a strong start to all of this.
Mike, you're starting with Mysterio.
Oh, Far From Home, your favorite Spider-Man movie, Mike.
I'm assuming that's a joke. I feel like that's no one's favorite Spider-Man movie unless you're 11.
We'll get there.
You've got Ultron.
Okay.
Are you getting the missed potential villains?
I think so.
This last four.
Kang the Conqueror from Loki.
All right.
Nate's gonna have some tough decisions next round.
I'm gonna get Kang out of the way because I like what he has.
Oh?
Well, I mean, it feels so much like a part 1 of 5. None of his shit really has any sort of conclusion or any satisfying piece of it. It just feels like his entire appearance in that show feels like an after credit scene referencing himself. And I don't really know how else to explain that.
That whole last episode of Loki just felt like the exposition episode, but it was like the finale. I was so confused.
It's so focused on setting up these characters for the future I mean, it's pretty undoubted that Kang is probably going to come back and be a villain again in some form.
I think they did a good job casting him too.
Yo, yeah, I mean, again, everything that's there is not bad. There's just not enough there in the first place. And then I'll move on to Ultron because that's also going to be quick because I got a lot to say about Mysterio. Ultron is fine. I think they could have done something really interesting with him, and they kind of just made him a very, oh, look, the funny robot man is quipping. Nice.
Do you think he's gonna get a second chance like some other people are?
What's the point? You already lost Tony Stark. Like, it's kind of too late for him to have any sort of effect. Because that could have been a really cool relationship that they built up there, and then they just didn't.
It could have been a really cool a lot of things, and they just didn't.
What really bugs me about it is in the comics, the idea of Ultron was created by the 4 greatest minds in the world: Reed Richards, Hank Pym, Tony Stark, and Bruce Banner. And now
It's really cool.
the MCU has all of those characters, but we can't do Ultron.
See, the problem with Ultron is that, like, they had really good foundation, right? Ultron was kind of like a birthday cake that these people put together, right? And then Joss Whedon just came and fucking nutted all over it. And he just made it an issue.
He cake farted on it.
And it's like, if Joss Whedon just didn't touch it, if we could, I think we just need someone to follow around Joss Whedon and like yell at him and squirt him with a bottle of water every time he tries to write a dumb fucking quip into any serious scene. Not that I don't like quips. I do. Joss Whedon the kind of guy to write a quip at a child's funeral.
As a writer, I feel like he's just a boneless Aaron Sorkin, because like the way Sorkin writes his characters is they're all like extremely like quippy. They all pretty much read like they know exactly, like they have the best possible read on the situation. They know everything. And then I feel like with Whedon, it's just like, all right, they know everything, but they want you to know that they know everything. And it's just like the banter just feels forced after 45 minutes of Iron Man and Bruce Banner having pissing contests 2 movies in a row.
And then so, okay, Mysterio. Mysterio's plan makes no fucking sense. All right? What was he gonna do once he got into the Avengers?
I have no idea.
I never thought of that.
Wouldn't the plan make more sense if he just stole the Iron Spider suit and then he'd have Spider-Man powers? He has this whole plan to somehow convince the world and sneak into the Avengers that is instantly broken up the minute that he runs into Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange says, "What the fuck are you doing?" and just looks at him for more than 2 seconds. And every time Mysterio needs to commit like any sort of heroic action, it needs to be planned like months in advance from what we've seen. There's no part 2. There's no part 2 to this. If it was money and fame, okay, sure. But that isn't what it is. And he could have just gotten money and fame by like
Using the Stark tech that he had.
I don't know. I think it's fucking stupid.
I think it's dumb that we got 2 Spider-Man villains in a row whose entire thing is just stealing Stark's technology.
If you just take the same setup, the same whatever, and you made it so Mysterio just wanted to be famous, so he made himself a comically over-the-top supervillain, that's fun as fuck. That's so much more fun.
It's literally what probably Bruce Campbell's character was going to be in the Spider-Man 4 movie.
To be fair, nothing Mysterio does in the movie besides the plan not making sense is that bad, and I like a lot of his scene. And I love Jake Gyllenhaal. Great actor.
We all do.
I have to kill Mysterio just because of how fucking, like, I could talk as much shit on Ultron as I want, but I'm not, like, fucking seething about Ultron.
I am.
I don't, like, think about Ultron anymore. Like, every once in a while, I'll be at work, and I'll be like, oh, Mysterio, what the fuck? And I'll just get mad. So Mysterio's dying. Ultron is getting fucked, I guess, but probably also, you know, he's barely getting fucked. He's
He's a fleshlight.
You're not calling him back in the morning.
No. Kang, I guess Kang's gonna get married, but I mean, that's just because Kang has not made me upset.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Kang is an arranged marriage. Let's hope we don't go back to this how many years later and end up on poorly aged thing. So
where's the last 3 going?
Right, we do have 3 more here, and
They're 3 very important ones.
I'm gonna preface with I'm not killing Justin Hammer, so if that's what you're wanting me to do, my last 3 are Thanos, Ego, and Justin Hammer.
These are like my top 3.
Sam Rockwell brings a lot to Iron Man 2, which is a movie that I've said again and again is one of the most underrated in the MCU. I think it's better than the first Iron Man. The conversation between Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 is one that we've had before. Check out our MCU ranking. I somehow found a way to win that argument. I feel like it's the only Iron Man movie that feels like it's Iron Man doing what Iron Man does, being a fucking dickhead and having a lot of powers and a lot of villains. I think Justin Hammer is really cool. I think we're probably going to see more from him too. I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Rockwell came back to the MCU, even if it's for something as small as a joke appearance in like Hawkeye or something like that.
He's probably coming back in that Armor Wars show.
It only makes sense to bring Hammer back. They never really conclude what he does, and we know that he has a patent for a rip-off of the arc reactor, so he's probably going to be pivotal, and he's going to be important. He's going to be pivotal to the plot of that show. I probably won't be watching it, but, you know, if he's there, maybe I'll tune in. And between Ego and Thanos, this gets tricky. Anyone who knows me knows this show. I'm a sucker for father-son arcs. And I think that false promise of a father character for Peter Quill is very interesting. I really enjoy the scenes of Ego explaining how he's plotted the whole like universe and has his whole plan, and essentially he's a god, kind of like Odin. But he only has control of what he creates in terms of his planet and where he plants seeds of cancerous flowers, I guess. I don't know. It's a little confusing, but I like Ego. I like Kurt Russell. I think that he's a big step up as a villain from the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but there's a little bit more to be desired. I feel like we never really see him as a full-on villain. We just see him kill Peter Quill's mother, and that's about it. If there's a turning point there, I think it would have been cool to see him more fleshed out and not kind of do the Pixar third act villain type thing there. Now, Thanos is another tricky one. I do really like the arc between him and his daughters. I don't really think he's as good in Endgame as he is a serious threat to the Avengers, probably the first actual serious threat to the Avengers that we see in Infinity War. Thanos is a touchy subject because I think in scenes and at times he's perfect. It's exactly what I'd want to see with Thanos on the big screen. I like that they rewrite the character and retcon the character in a way to not be like he is in the comics. I think they add a little bit more depth to him by not making him like literally obsessed with like death as a deity and being a giant simp. But his plan also doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, if he has all the power of the universe or whatever, of all the Infinity Stones, he could do anything he could just double the amount of resources instead of killing half the population. But it's clear that he just doesn't think that well, and it comes to show when the Avengers are able to defeat the Guardians of the Galaxy version of himself in Endgame. I don't think we'll ever see any more of Thanos, although he's the only like serious long-term threat the MCU's been able to set up, in my opinion. I think by this logic and fighting within myself, I've already established that I'm not killing Justin Hammer, which is what I think the sensible thing to do is. I'm going to kill Ego.
Damn.
Just because there's not enough there for me to really warrant him making it high on this list. I am excited to see if Justin Hammer makes a return, and I think he steals scene after scene in Iron Man 2. So I guess that means I'm marrying Thanos, but it's only because Justin Hammer doesn't do enough to warrant marriage, and Ego just really isn't a true like villain in my eyes. He kills one person, and the Guardians turn on him, which I mean, rightfully so. They should. He's kind of like big tobacco lobbyists, where he gave someone's mom cancer, so you have the right to be upset with them. But if it were Yondu, who's kind of like an antagonist in the first movie, but then gets a full redemption arc in the second Guardians movie, then I would be like, yes, absolutely. But it's Ego. We only get about 30 minutes of screen time with the guy, and I don't think he's ever really threatening. So Thanos is getting married. That's the end of ranking them into their separate categories. But in the kill category, the bottom of the barrel, we've got Malekith, Yellow Jacket, Ghost, Taskmaster, Dreykov, Lo Fei, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, General Ross, Ronan, Ulysses Claw, Mysterio, and Ego. In the fuck category, we've got Killmonger, Loki, Zhu Wenwu, the Vulture, Kingpin, Agatha, Hela, Abomination, John Walker, Jan Rog, Ultron, and Justin Hammer. And then in the Mary category, we've got Zemo, Red Skull, Caecilius, Alexander Pierce, Aldrich Killian, Trevor Slattery / the Mandarin, Dormammu, Whiplash, Winter Soldier, Ironmonger, Kang the Conqueror, and Thanos. Let's start with the bottom of the barrel, the kills. Who's the worst MCU villain?
So it's the Thor the Dark World villain, right?
Malekith?
I feel like he's the definition of what's been the problem with MCU villains.
According to Collider.com, Marvel villains ranked from worst to best, Whiplash is the worst Marvel villain.
Whoa, fuck off.
I definitely don't agree with that.
I think Ronan the Conqueror is worse because I would rather a bad villain than a completely non-existent, insignificant one that feels like he's in the background.
Yeah.
But at least Ronan made an impact. Like, he showed up again in Captain Marvel. Like, at least he's part of a bigger threat. While, like, this dude from Thor the Dark World, like...
But the fact that you can sneak a main villain of a movie into the background and have people like, oh shit, that's Ronan. It's like, that's how little of an impact he left that you're able to just sneak him in the background somewhere.
I don't know. I've never considered him a threat at all.
They beat him by fucking dancing.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Tell me one personality trait of Ronan the Conqueror, besides he likes conquering things.
He's a masochist.
I didn't know he was a conqueror. I thought his name was just Ronan.
It's Ronan the Conqueror, yeah.
Wait, so they got Ronan the Conqueror and Kang the Conqueror?
We're running out of names.
Ronan's just like a boneless general. Like he's a part of a greater cause. I think he's portrayed as a semi, like he's a threat level for the Guardians, which are a ragtag group of like misfits. So it makes sense for them to not have like, at least they're not directly trying to fight Thanos in this movie.
No, but there was a genuine threat that he was this guy was Thanos's like first in command.
True.
He was going to destroy the universe.
Yeah.
Like that, it was literally a universe-ending threat.
I literally don't even know what Malekith does in Thor Dark World, though. Like, I literally can't even remember him. I'd rather have someone who had potential and then didn't, than someone who, like, I literally can't remember. And I watched Thor Dark World right before our MCU ranking, like, a little over a year ago. I think I should be able to remember one thing that he does.
Oh yeah, so did I. He's the actor's one of the Doctor Who actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ninth Doctor, yeah.
But Space George Washington versus Blue Loki. I mean,
Space George Washington versus Space Andrew Jackson.
my heart's with Space Andrew Jackson.
I don't know. I fucking hate Ronan. I also just don't care about either of the Thor villains.
We're fighting a lot about this, so I'm just gonna say Malekith should go.
Fair.
Do we want Ronan next? I don't have a problem with it.
Kind of, yeah.
Ronan the Barbarian. All right, that means we've got Yellow Jacket, Ghost, Taskmaster, Dreykov, Lofay, Contessa Valentina, Allegra de Fontaine, General Ross, Ulysses Claw, Mysterio, and Ego left. I'd be down for the villain of Thor 1, Lofay, or Mysterio here. I think they're both equally gigantic disappointments, and I think Lofay has like a total of 7 minutes of screen time in Thor.
I think he should go.
I believe I've made my peace already.
Yeah, I think Mysterio at least is like memorable.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
Mike really sold me on Mysterio being one of the worst MCU villains. I really liked that take. That was one of the best Duel of the Takes rants we've had in a while.
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. I think Mysterio is just a big missed opportunity. Mysterio in the comics is either hit or miss of being actually powerful or being someone who's reliant on some sort of technology or being a puppet of a larger scheme.
We have to send this to Nick right after recording.
Okay, I'll put it in Legacy General. I feel like I would care a lot more about the consequences of those movies if the villains were like even just hella levels of threatening of like, hey, we've taken over Asgard and, you know, your people are mine now. Like,
if Hela was the villain in Thor the Dark World, that would have made a lot more sense of like, now Thor and Loki have to like team up after their differences in the first Avengers. Like, that could have created a much better arc.
So yeah, I guess LaFay there at 3. Who's standing out as like an actually like horrible villain to you guys that's left?
Taskmaster.
Ghost.
Yo, Yellow Jacket's a meme. Like,
That's why Yellow Jacket needs to go higher.
He turns a dude into fucking goo. Go alone.
Buzz Aldrin turns into an evil Ant-Man.
I don't hate him.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's like that low.
I just think the amount of missed potential with Taskmaster is the only thing that's like really disappointing. But even then, like, what are we gonna do with a character like Taskmaster anyway? They're at best the heavy of one movie. I don't, and like same with Ghost.
He took the only interesting thing about Taskmaster and took it away from the character.
What would you do with Taskmaster, Mike, if you were in charge of the MCU? If you were Kevin Feige, what would you do with Taskmaster?
Well, there's a lot of characters who seem to rely a lot on technology and very base power.
Excuse me, Mr. Feige, when's the Fantastic Four movie?
Put Taskmaster in a Spider-Man movie. Fuck it, why not? I mean that, or put him in a. I would love to see an Avengers movie that wasn't as big stakes, and just to take smaller Avengers, like ignore Doctor Strange, or ignore Scarlet Witch, and take who's left.
We might have that soon, but it's not going to be Taskmaster.
That's about it. I just think they're severely limiting Taskmaster by only letting the character mimic characters who have no powers going on.
I agree.
It nerfs the shit out of the character.
It's Taskmaster is just evil Legolas from Lord of the Rings. But Alden, I want to hear from you why Ghost should go next. You seem to have a problem with this character.
I don't have like too much of a problem with the character. I really like this movie more than probably all of you, but she just doesn't.
Is Nick here?
She doesn't have anything memorable. There's nothing going on. Like, it's a sob story of a villain, and nothing is really done about it.
Josh, are you on Team Ghost going down next, or is there another character that you're thinking about?
I'm fine with that unless Mike's got something to combat that.
Not really. That's fine.
So the first Ant-Man, or the Ant-Man villain from Ant-Man 2, but the first one to be placed on this list, is going at 31. I wouldn't be opposed to Yellow Jacket going here, just like I was saying, but again, the more I think about it, that character's kind of a giant meme. I like at the beginning of the movie where he's trying to get like on the good graces of everyone at the lab, and like he's like trying to kiss up to Hank Pym, and he's like, yo, he's like the best, but then is like actually trying to like plot his demise. He's really just like a ladder climber, like thinks he's like next in line to take over and maybe someday become Ant-Man, and then he's like, psych, we're gonna shrink a bunch of things and I'm gonna just steal the suit and fight this guy myself.
Yellow Jacket feels like a villain from a early 2000s superhero movie.
Absolutely.
But I really like the final fight with Yellow Jacket. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it's a good set piece. I like how they shrink down and they're on like the little train set and stuff, and that's fun.
There are characters I like on this list less.
Another one I could see maybe going is General Ross or potentially Dreykov. I think they both kind of are like set up to be bigger threats than they are. I'm kind of twisted. Those are the bottom three left in my mind. Is there anyone that we feel strongly about going next?
No.
Ross, dress for less it is. I think we've seen enough from Valentina to really warrant her really like even making this list or qualifying. I think that her like next big thing is coming in that Hawkeye show. You know, B-list, C-list villains we've set up and see what they can do in terms of, I don't know, anti-avenging, devenging.
Revengers.
Or Claw is also like kind of like, yeah, missed potential, but I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that the MCU didn't really know what they wanted to do with him.
I feel like Claw should go in second as well.
So it sounds like maybe either Dreykov, Yellow Jacket, or Valentina next. I'm leaning towards Dreykov personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Dreykov, you're going to number 29. I have more fun with Yellow Jacket than I have had with Valentina thus far, so I think Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine has made an impact on us, but not one to warrant being in the upper echelon of the absolute bottom tier characters that we have.
Seinfeld theme blares.
Yeah. Then we're gonna go Yellow Jacket as established. A lot of fun to be had, but really, you know, not the strongest character ever written. And then Claw, kind of similar thing. A lot of missed potential. I think one of the things that rubs me the wrong way is, you've got Andy Serkis and he's not doing mocap. It's like, it feels miscast almost. I believe him as the character, especially in Black Panther when he gets a little bit more screen time. He's just kind of like, I'm going to be like an arms dealer and no pun intended. Would have been cool to see him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I guess he was dead by that point.
I'm glad Ego made the top 25.
And there he is, Ego, at the top of our kill tier. Now we've got the ones we fucked. Killmonger, Loki, Zhu Wenwu, the Vulture, Kingpin, Agatha, Hela, Abomination, John Walker, Jan Rog, Ultron, and Justin Hammer.
Jan Rog should be bottom, right?
Yeah, Jan Rog's going at the bottom.
The fact that Jan Rog is currently above Ego is fucking sickening.
That's what I love so much about this one is like you can kind of tell just by looking at the list where the division lines are from each category.
Bro, I got both Doctor Strange villains in the Mary tier.
I think another villain that's standing out in this category is like, did they really need to be here? I'm kind of feeling Abomination. I know there's more happening with this character eventually, but man, from what I've seen in the MCU, this character's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Abomination. That one's really sticking out.
All right. And then we've got Killmonger, Loki, Zhu Wenwu, the Vulture, Kingpin, Agatha, Hela, John Walker, Ultron, and Justin Hammer.
I don't like Agatha or Ultron.
I think it's Ultron. Because, like, Agatha might show up in, like, a Doctor Strange sequel or something. Ultron's done.
I think so, too.
Is Agatha next, then? I feel like I still haven't seen Shang-Chi, but I don't know if the payoff with Zhu Wenwu's any good.
Honestly,
The main character's father, so that's interesting. You know me, I'm a sucker for father-son arcs.
I think you'll actually really like him, Nate. Because it's a pretty strong father-son arc again.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, I personally like Justin Hammer more than Agatha. I don't know if you guys are starting to think he's looking a little high. I think, again, we talked about the kind of missed opportunities with John Walker, but I do think he has some of the more entertaining scenes in that show, so I don't necessarily think he needs to be at the bottom. I feel like Agatha, like, revealing her as the villain just didn't really do anything for that show. I could be wrong.
All spoilers, but Walker making his own suit, fucking cool as shit.
Yeah, even though it was garbage, I loved it.
Oh, completely, but it was cool as fuck. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
John Walker's, like, and it's well acted, too. We kind of...
Yeah, he's trying.
We kind of screwed over his father earlier, but Wyatt Russell brings a really good performance, I think.
Yeah, I agree. My problem's definitely not with Wyatt Russell. It's just the script and like the lack of commitment one way or the other with the character. But I think, again, it's another one of those we're probably going to see again in some of these other Disney Plus shows.
I'm pretty sure it's Agatha.
I agree.
Sorry, Agatha. Actually, I don't apologize to Agatha. I apologize to Catherine Hahn. I'm happy you got your big break in the MCU, but I'm excited to see what you do next. Mostly being funny.
I think it's either Kingpin or Hela here.
Yeah, again, Kingpin, it's kind of hard to even compare because we haven't seen his MCU debut, but within the context of the Daredevil show, if that's going to be canon now, I mean, he's a pretty high-stakes character, but like Mike said, he becomes less.
Yeah, but if we're talking Daredevil season, like, if we're counting that, he is one of the best written villains in the entirety of the MCU, if we're counting Daredevil season.
I think we have to.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we don't know if it's canon with him or not, but...
Well, never mind. Hela goes next.
Yeah. Hell is a good, like, threat for that movie, but I don't feel like it's her movie by any means. You know, it's not like one of those cases where the villain steals the show. She just steals the kingdom.
Yeah, I think her use is, like, pretty funny.
Yeah. I think she's competent as like a third act, like, oh, we got to save the day now after dicking around in Jeff Goldblum's like Thunderdome for an hour.
Yeah.
How about John Walker next?
I don't hate that.
What number are we on?
We are at number 20. This would be the bottom of the top 20.
Yeah, I think top 20 John Walker fits pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
The other one that I'm thinking, from what I've seen, is the Vulture. I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not, but I did not really believe any of the like action sequences with this character. I like the motivation and I like the setup, but again, I just don't think we saw the payoff. Maybe we will down the line, but who really knows?
He's in Morbius.
Oh yeah, jeez, I forgot about that frickin' movie. That's in the MCU too.
I guess, like, Vulture's in it, so I guess it has to be, right?
So are the Venom movies.
Yeah, that means it's all canon.
Wait, where's Riz Ahmed on this list then? Where's evil Elon Musk?
Somewhere around number 33 for sure.
Yes, right, right around Taskmaster. Yeah, I'm cool with John Walker here. That makes sense. All right, is Justin Hammer going next, or is there more love for him than even I have?
All right, this is where things get spicy.
Okay.
Loki.
I agree. He's a bad villain.
Yeah, this is a list of MCU villains.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Comparing him to these other villains, I like all of these other villains' arcs more than Loki. All of these other villains, even Justin Hammer, was more threatening to the person they're going after than what Loki did.
Bro, Justin Hammer had to use Whiplash to be a villain.
Yeah, exactly. Smart dude.
Yeah, and he's like a arms dealer. I mean, he's not like gonna throw on a giant mech suit and fight. Like, we already got that with Obadiah, with the Ironmonger that we're gonna see later.
Yeah, but he's not like an Avengers level threat like Loki was.
Loki had to get an army of aliens, which Rocket said is the worst army in the universe, to fight the Avengers. His only movie where he is a villain from beginning to end is seen as a joke in that universe now. That is pathetic.
I will say, though, he is a decent, like, reoccurring threat. I mean, even if he's being a trickster like he's supposed to be.
He's barely a trickster half the time. In Thor Ragnarok, he's pretty much like...
I mean, he disguises himself as Odin for like an entire movie, and then he dupes the audience by disguising himself as Matt Damon.
He wasn't Odin until the very end of Thor the Dark World, and then just in the first, like, 2 minutes of Ragnarok.
True.
And it just turns into a comedic gag. Everything set up by Loki just turns into a comedic gag.
I don't know. He's like a bit character at this point. Whenever he's a...
And that's not knocking the show or anything, but, I mean, he's clearly a protagonist in that show, so I don't think that show's in conversation right now.
No, that's not villain territory.
He loses pretty much all merit as a villain after Avengers. And like, yeah, he single-handedly tries to kill Thanos, which is low-key brave.
Key brave.
I see what you did there.
That's his last name. All right, cool. I'm between Kingpin, Justin Hammer, and Vulture next. Again, haven't seen Shang-Chi, so I don't know if I can really weigh in on Zhu.
I think he's like at this level, but I'm pretty sure he still stands above Justin Hammer.
Unfortunately, this might be where Justin Hammer goes, but honestly,
Top 18's kind of cool. I mean, yeah, we haven't seen much from him. In one movie, he's like, he's just a tool. He's an evil Tony Stark.
What I don't like about Vulture is that he's technically an Iron Man villain stuck in a Spider-Man movie, though. At least Justin Hammer's in an Iron Man movie.
What I do like about Vulture, though, is... again, like the setup, like I totally buy the additional world building that we get in the opening scene of Homecoming, where, you know, he's picking up the scraps of the Avengers and turning it into something useful. I think that's really cool. I like his design too. I think they did a good job of not just making it look like an old man in a bird suit, which is what I was scared about after Birdman with with the Vulture and Michael Keaton and all this. It just seemed a little too self-referential.
But with that being said, can the Vulture go next?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, have not seen Shang-Chi, but if you're saying I might like it, that'd be pretty big, because I haven't liked a Marvel villain since Thanos.
I mean, that was only like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, but we've had 5 TV shows, 4 movies, and a partridge in a pear tree since.
Yeah.
And I don't like him in Endgame, so...
5 contents a year is just a regular year for Marvel at this point.
Yeah, it's too much for me. So the last 3 of the fuck tier, we've got Killmonger, Zhu Wenwu, and Kingpin. I think Killmonger's personally the strongest. Like, in terms of a character, I buy his motivation. I think he kind of deserves to be at the top. I've seen him at the top of like whole lists like this. He's number 1 on Collider's list of best Marvel villains.
Yeah, I agree. Killmonger should be on top of this.
Why am I agreeing with Collider?
Doesn't happen often.
I think Kingpin is better than Killmonger. They have the same motivations, more or less. And Killmonger's shit. Like, okay, say what you want about Kingpin, but we're talking like physical character interactions. I think we're really leaving out that Killmonger's arc ends it with him in just a literally slightly off-color Black Panther suit.
True.
That is a problem with like MCU too, because that happened in the first Iron Man also.
But it's way worse. It's so much worse in Black Panther than it is in virtually any other movie. You cannot fucking tell the fight like at all what is going on. You cannot tell the two characters apart.
Yeah, that part with the magnet trains and they're in like the core, it's rough.
Yeah, it's some of the worst CGI I've seen in a blockbuster in a while.
From that, and based on the fact that like I would say everything else about the characters are relatively comparable. And I wouldn't say like Kingpin's fight with Daredevil is stick, but it's not bad. So based on that, I would give it.
All right, and what about Zug, or Chu Wenwu, whatever his name is? Do we think that he's better villain than Killmonger? I know it's got a father-son arc, and I'm a sucker for those, but does he pose as much of a threat to the livelihood of the main character and the order of the world as Killmonger in Black Panther?
So what I like about Shang-Chi is how it does kind of have that world threat that you see in a lot of MCU movies, which I don't like, but at the same time, it's so grounded in the story it's trying to tell with Shang-Chi's father that the more I've thought about this movie since I've seen it, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again, actually, because I really want to see how this arc a second time viewing it hits me, because just this the character works. It's hard to explain without you seeing the movie, but it at first you're like, why does Shang-Chi like still like care about like his father at all? Because he just comes off as like a huge asshole. The more is revealed throughout the movie, and like how the father feels. The movie tackles like a lot of themes of like loss and what that could do to a person mentally. It's a really good villain arc, and Shang-Chi is better than what I think it is the more that I talk about the movie out loud.
But my question was, better than Killmonger?
Better than Kingpin?
I don't think he's better than Killmonger. I think his threat is greater, but not as strong.
Then I think it goes Wenwu, and then we can have this Killmonger Kingpin debate. I do genuinely agree with Mike's take. I think part of that too has to do with like overall screen time. I mean, Killmonger is the main villain of Black Panther, but I mean, Kingpin had like a whole season and then some bonus of being the main antagonist of a show. So in terms of like that, it's like, okay, well, if Killmonger was the main villain of a show, I think we probably would have seen maybe a little bit better encounters. I do like the little art museum heist and stuff like that. And
Oh yeah.
That's his best part of the movie.
I think both Killmonger and Shang-Chi's father both needed more screen time. And that's kind of, I wish Killmonger just had a little bit more screen time. I wish he was the villain for the entire movie, and we didn't have like Andy Serkis running around pretending to be the main villain for the first act.
I do really like the first face-off though between T'Challa and Killmonger though at the waterfall to see who's going to be the true king of Wakanda, and he gets his fair and equal challenge where, you know, T'Challa has to humble himself and remove the Black Panther like serum or whatever it is, the flower from his soul, and they have an even fight, and he straight up demolishes T'Challa, and I think that's really cool. I like that he goes as far as throwing him off the waterfall. Like that part is the same level of threatening as I think the Kingpin versus Daredevil fight. Now I do think the greater payoff later with the suits, I 100% agree with Mike, is kind of cheesy and just feels kind of tacked on. But then after that, we do get a really deep, like, personal moment between the two of them as they're watching his last sunset in Wakanda. And in a way, I feel like if Killmonger didn't die there, we'd probably see the thing where it's like, oh, he's like somewhat redeemed, and we're gonna see him be like over with the fans like anti-hero. But no, he actually passes there, and I think that was actually one of the best decisions they made. Was, you know, he challenged the king a second time and lost, and I personally think that that's the best scene in the movie. And I wish we got something similar to that for Luke Skywalker's passing in Last Jedi, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I personally think Killmonger belongs above Kingpin too, but Kingpin's a close second for this tier in my opinion. I just don't really like anything with Kingpin beyond the first season of that show. I do think it's cool that he's getting a second chance though here in the MCU. Who knows what that role is gonna look like.
I agree.
I think this is the right order.
So we are out of fuck tier and moving right along to Mary. The top 13 Marvel villains, here they are. We've got Zemo, Red Skull, Caecilius, Alexander Pierce, Aldrich Killian, Trevor Slattery / The Mandalorian, Dormammu, Whiplash, Winter Soldier, Ironmonger, Kang the Conqueror, and Thanos.
So, Mike, you were very vocal about Whiplash earlier.
I mean, you know, he's cool. He feels like a mini boss in a 2005 video game.
It's what I want out of a supervillain, at least in this universe.
I agree, the racetrack scene is cool. I just think it's weird to feel strongly about Whiplash in either way. I don't have much to say about that. I will have you know that I will stay arguing for Mandarin though. Hard.
Good. I think Dormammu goes.
What?
No.
I think Dormammu is better than Caecilius.
Wait, which one's Caecilius?
Caecilius is Mads Mikkelsen. He's barely in the movie.
Yeah. I think
I think he's going right here.
That's an easy place.
Another character that I'm kind of considering is Aldrich Killian. In our recent MCU draft battle, we talked about, although he is a threat within the context of the movie, it's really only because Iron Man is stripped away of his suits and of his power. And I mean, the dude literally gets knocked upside the head by a pole at the end of the movie, and that's it. Like, he's stopped so easily that a single Avenger or a single hero could come in and save the day, but the only one who was aware of the issue was in, like, Omaha, Nebraska, or wherever Iron Man got casted away to, and hanging out with some kid in a garage for half the movie.
I think it only fits well if Aldrich Killian's going here, the fake Mandarin goes right next to him.
Sheesh.
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I could see it. Well, how do we feel about Ironmonger? Is that a completely, like, strong villain? Like,
No.
When it comes to Iron Man villains, Ironmonger and Whiplash would be lower for ranking Iron Man villains for me.
I'm gonna make the case then that Whiplash is definitively a better Iron Man villain than Ironmonger.
I agree.
Yes.
Whiplash is a character that is pulled out of a different part of the world and is meant to challenge Tony Stark, and he does so and succeeds initially, and I think that that's really cool. I like the deal that he's making with Justin Hammer to kind of like hang out in this airport hangar and craft something interesting. And I think Ironmonger as like a corporate suit guy in a suit villain works, but the moment he throws on the actual Ironmonger suit, I'm like, this is just kind of cheesy. It was the first MCU movie. You're not going to get a good fight, but I think it's almost as bad as the Killmonger or T'Challa fight scene on the magnetic trains.
Interesting, because I think when they go to space, when he doesn't know the freezing problem, I think's a funny gag.
How'd you deal with the icing problem?
But I'm fine with that because aesthetically wise, I think Whiplash is cooler.
So are we seriously about to place four Iron Man villains in a row, and up next is gonna be Whiplash?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want Whiplash that low.
What? You also like Whiplash?
Yes.
Alright, tell me about the character depth of Whiplash, Alden.
Whiplash is an actual, like, competition to Tony Stark. Justin Hammer literally had to find this guy to be able to do anything to Tony.
Didn't Jeff Bridges build an Iron Man suit the movie before?
And did what with it? They had a single fight in it, and he flew too high.
What did Whiplash do? He did the same thing. He was in a big suit at the end, and they fought.
It took 2 Iron Mans to beat him, though.
Whiplash was able to take on Tony Stark on his own without Justin Hammer's, like, money and resources. He only used the suits and had to retrofit the suits, not even, like, working along with Justin Hammer. Like, Justin Hammer wanted him to make drones. This dude wanted to make suits.
But okay, what makes Whiplash better than potentially the Winter Soldier, Dormammu?
I'm saying he's the best of the Iron Man villains at the very least. Dormammu, to me, is just, like, a threat in the background. I never actually cared about him. Which is probably why I don't care about Doctor Strange too much.
I think Dormammu unfortunately falls into the same kind of trap that like Ronan does, where it's like, yeah, we've established that he's a presence and a fear, but the way that he's like defeated or I guess outsmarted is like played off as a joke.
Yeah.
It's funny and it works well, and it's a different take on it. And I agree with Josh. The design of Dormammu is really good. Like that's what I really wanted to see anyway. But yeah, no, not enough screen time to really warrant this character being in the top 10 for me.
I just like villains with actual arcs, and that's what Aldrich Killian has. Yes, is it Syndrome? Yeah, but it works.
Sorry, kid. I work alone. I think we could put Dormammu here as a buffer so we don't have 4 Iron Man villains in a row.
That's fine. He had a good run.
He did. Top 11's no threat. He beat out well-established villains, and it's a good scene. Probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. So going back to ranking these Iron Man villains, Trevor, the weakest of these 3, because it seems to be a case for all. Okay, what's the case for Trevor Slattery / the quote-unquote Mandalorian?
British man funny. That's it. That's the whole case.
I do like that it leans into the Ben Kingsley like controversy as an actor, where he's just a British guy who like is racially ambiguous enough that he's had a career of playing like other nationalities, and I feel like that's really something that's a little bit like self-aware within Iron Man 3 of like, oh, he's literally just an actor and he's like farting and shit. Like it's a good gag. It really is. I don't know if it's like I could see why people were upset about it, but honestly I didn't want to see the Mandarin on screen anyway.
No, this was a perfect execution if they were going to do it.
Yeah, either Aldrich or Whiplash is going next.
I like Whiplash better than Killian.
So do I.
And I do. Sorry, Josh.
Iron Man 3 getting cucked once again on this show.
Hey man, you just shouldn't have been wiped out by Pepper Potts.
And a pole to the back of the head.
He wasn't the muscle.
Wasn't he?
He did have firepower.
He made Don Cheadle really sweaty.
He did do that, yeah.
Well, I guess Whiplash goes next. He got as high as I wanted him to, unless anyone else has a case for him going higher than number 9. I feel like that's very generous, seeing as how Collider put him at 30.
God.
I think we proved our point. Duel of the Takes is better than Collider.
Well, yes.
How strongly do we feel about Kang?
I don't.
You're not wrong. I don't know enough about him.
I feel like there's plenty of potential there, but seeing as like a lot of other people on this list in theory had potential, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Kang literally messed up an entire timeline that's definitely a bigger impact than whatever Whiplash did in Iron Man 2.
I mean, bigger impact, sure, but we have like a ton of villains already placed that had bigger impacts than the Mandarin.
True, but we're in the best of the best.
Well, the best of the best is Trevor Slattery.
I agree.
Okay, well, it looks like Trevor Slattery's going higher than I anticipated. I feel like Kang has yet to even really get started. I mean, I know he creates like a little hiccup in the timeline, but they resolved that, but we're going to see more of this character maybe in a different form down the line. Whereas Whiplash, he achieves his goal. He really is just like a mid-card villain. He is, in theory, the biggest threat within the movie, but he's kind of also just surface level, heavy more or less for all the crap that Hammer's doing behind the scenes. And when he goes his own way and goes rogue with power and tries to take Iron Man on, and he's trying to get his revenge for the death of his father that he blames on the Stark family, there's a little bit of depth there, but not the most fleshed out arc ever, and the payoff isn't incredibly great. I think his introduction is what's so strong and why I like him, and not holistically what we see from him later. And that might end up being the case with Kang too. Again, we just don't know where that character's going. I don't know. It's a toss-up for me.
I'm not like confident to place Kang higher based on potential.
All right, cool. Kang can go here at 9. And then anyone have a problem with Whiplash at 8?
I mean, I do, but I don't think I'm swaying people.
Okay. Well, left we have 4 Captain America villains. Trevor Slattery, the quote-unquote Mandarin, and Thanos. So,
No, please entertain us. Why is Whiplash better than all of these villains?
I mean, this dude, like, not out of a cave, but out of definitely a shit place, built the whips, and then went to fight Tony Stark and almost won.
True.
And that's Tony with all of his resources, and that's Whiplash with a bird.
Yeah, I think with the villains that are left, Zemo, Red Skull, Alexander Pierce, the quote-unquote Mandarin, Whiplash, Winter Soldier, and Thanos, I still think we're down between these last two Iron Man villains for placement.
I think Alexander Pierce could go here.
I was thinking that because he's like, he has a place and he's very threatening, but he is just a dude.
Like, I get he's played by a legendary actor, but he's just kind of there in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to represent like the most senior member of like Shield or whatever that was working for Hydra all along, and goes to kind of shake Captain America at his core, because he initially looks up to the character. The scene where they're like shaking hands and he like likes him. He's like, oh, this is like my boss in a way. And what we learn from Captain America, the Winter Soldier, is not to trust establishments, and that's what Captain America learns by this man betraying everything that he pretended to stand for. I agree that that's not the most strong villain, and obviously Winter Soldier is the better villain of that movie, but his actions and his decisions and the overthrowing of Hydra to SHIELD is really like a pivotal like point in the character development of Captain America, and I think he complements the hero of that movie better than most of these other villains. Even Red Skull, which I think could go here, doesn't really attribute much to the development of Captain America. Sure, he's a threat, and sure, he's the face to the problems going on in 1940s Germany, apparently, according to this universe. But he's not like, he and Captain America share literally one scene together, and Captain America just knows to stop him. There's not any conflict. There's not any like reason for him to stop Red Skull. Then he's the bad guy of this movie. And I think Hugo Weaving does a very good job with the character, but it's not like he's the main conflict of the movie. The conflict is the things that are going on, like the fact that there's a world war, and then this guy just happens to be hijacking it with a tesseract and laser rifles.
But as the head of Hydra, he not only after he wasn't a part of the universe anymore, his impact is still left the MCU to this day. I mean, what's her name from Seinfeld is literally works for Hydra. Red Skull's impact on the MCU is still going on and will forever go on. Even him at the Soul Stone, like Red Skull has become such a prominent figure in the MCU, and I wish we saw him as an antagonist more in other movies. But I think there absolutely was an impact by him, though.
That's fair. I guess the case being made then is that like Red Skull actually impacted the like world of the MCU more than I guess he did in the context of that movie. So I buy that. Again, I think, come on, the Mandarin and Whiplash can go here. Like,
but not Pierce?
Yeah, but not Pierce.
Sure. Yeah, why not? Alexander Pierce. I feel bad earlier for mixing him up with Guy Pearce's character, but I do have a lot of love for Alexander Pierce. I think he honestly was a very, very good reveal villain, and the MCU doesn't have too many good executions of a reveal villain. Alexander Pierce, number 8. Okay. Josh, is Red Skull better than Whiplash?
Yes.
I don't know. Red Skull kind of sucks. Not gonna lie. I mean, like, I'm interjecting here because I can take it no longer. Red Skull sucks. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, I think the threat of Hydra is definitely like a big pro to him being a villain, but
Hydra on the list. We're putting Red Skull.
yeah, Hydra is separate from Red Skull at this point.
What?
Like, dude fell into a void and was gone for how many movies?
Red Skull's literal mad scientist buddy there was integrated into a computer. That was all Red Skull.
Yeah, that scene's dope as fuck, by the way. That's one of my favorite scenes in Winter Soldier.
If we're ranking Killian separate from Whiplash, we can't put, Red Skull's goons along with him.
It's part of Red Skull, though. That's why he didn't need such a connection to Captain America, because he kept creating threats for Captain America, so Captain America wouldn't have to face him. And when Red Skull finally went up against Captain America, he may have lost the fight, but Captain America had to crash that ship, and he was frozen for 80 years, or however long it was.
Well, I think the two most powerful agents of Hydra, or rather people that used what Red Skull set up, whether by design or not, are left on this list. I think Red Skull himself definitely planted a lot of those seeds, and it took people like Zemo, Alexander Pierce, and even the Winter Soldier, even though he didn't want to execute those things that he had set up. So I think we're...
Why is Zemo still on this list? One, he's part of one of the most overrated MCU movies. Two, Zemo, I forget's in that fucking movie half the time.
I think he's the best part of that movie.
I agree.
Sure, he's the best part of that movie, but you forget that part even existed.
I definitely don't.
The part where he drowns the guy in Cleveland is the most memorable scene in that movie to me.
Yeah.
Feel like nobody would agree with that statement.
No, I almost do. That scene and then his scene with Black Panther at the end of the movie. Those are the best parts of the movie. Like, the Zemo scenes are legitimately the best part. Zemo as a character is very strong.
Sure, but they're not... I wouldn't say they're memorable. When somebody's number one movie is Civil War, they don't go, oh my god, Zemo.
Speak for yourself.
I mean, they definitely would now.
No, they definitely wouldn't now. He puts on that iconic purple mask for like 2 seconds in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yes, I think it's the best Disney Plus show, but I'm not gonna praise it like it's this great, like, feat in superhero. I'm not gonna compare fucking Zemo to Heath Ledger's Joker or anything. Zemo's not that good. He doesn't belong in the top 5.
Then place him.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Then do it.
Who here would rather see Zemo placed than Red Skull?
Red Skull's already at 7, I thought.
Okay, yeah. Red Skull's done at 7. Okay, cool. So Zemo at 6?
Sure.
Whiplash is going into the top 5. The quote-unquote fake-out Mandarin's going into the top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Zemo, number 6. Josh bringing the passion here into the top 5.
Can we get him off of this list, please?
Which one are we getting off the list?
Can we get Whiplash off of this list now?
Yeah.
Does Alden have an argument for it?
I mean, I can throw him up against Thanos, but only Thanos in Endgame.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, but Thanos Endgame is like number 29 on this list.
Yeah, no, Thanos Infinity War is strong, so I can't. Whiplash can go at 5.
Okay, here it is. The top 3 MCU villains. The weakest here is Trevor Slattery, right? Or are we putting him over the Winter Soldier and or Thanos?
Well, I think Thanos existing in Endgame as weak as he is, that says a lot.
Okay.
Okay, can we put the Mandarin here so I can have a debate between the two?
Fine.
Just have the debate now.
No.
Well, I want Winter Soldier at 3. Have the debate.
We talked about, like, MCU, like, impact. People are still pissed at Winter Soldier to this day.
What I really don't like about Winter Soldier is, I mean, the fact that he's really not a villain. All the villainous deeds that he does is the fact that he's brainwashed by Hydra agents and then manipulated by other players. The Wakanda technology was able to unscramble his brain, but he has to deal with the repercussions of the things that he did. And I think that part's interesting. He's a well-established anti-hero, even though it's by design he should just be a hero. I really like Bucky in the first Captain America. I think they set him up well. I think he might be one of the best set up villains in the entire MCU. So even though by design I don't think he is a villain, in the way that they handle him in this franchise, he truly is, and I could see him being number 1, not number 3. I don't know. This is getting tricky.
Is it?
Can't believe we'd be putting Thanos at number 1, but the more I'm looking at this, it only makes sense. But then, yeah, Trevor Slattery's still here somehow. Maybe the best Marvel villain's literally a joke. I could agree with Mike. I'm torn.
Thanos is pretty bad in Endgame.
There was so much hype leading up to Infinity War, and in that movie, honestly, Thanos delivered for me. I don't think it was like the best movie ever by any means. I think it was like number 8 on my Marvel list, but I do think he presents an actual threat, and the fact that he wins at the end of the movie, it's the only time we actually see the Avengers in peril, but we never really see major characters from the Avengers in peril until Thanos shows up and kicks everyone's ass.
I agree. I think Winter Soldier is the worst out of these 3.
2 of you guys think that, and it's confusing me.
Yeah, bit aside, I don't agree. I think Winter Soldier is better than Thanos. I think Thanos, even in Endgame, like, he still is a threat. He's not even close to the same level of a threat because he doesn't have all the stones, technically.
You could put Thanos at 3 if you guarantee Winter Soldier's at 1.
I will guarantee Winter Soldier at 1. Shake my hand.
I like how Thanos, at the beginning of Endgame, the good Thanos, the one from Infinity War, just like pulls a Green Knight and just kneels so that Thor can cut off his head. Like it's pretty interesting. He doesn't really even try to put up a fight. He's done. He did the thing that he wanted to do, and he did it. And I think going off of that Thanos in Endgame, I think it adds to him as a villain. He achieved what he wanted to do. And I think Thanos could win this whole thing at this point, because I really don't think that Winter Soldier is even a villain. He's a villain in one movie, and it's not even by his choice.
I got back on the...
I also think it's based that he killed Stark's family members.
Winter Soldier is based for killing Starks.
Yes.
Winter Soldier says eat the rich.
True, I agree.
Back on the Winter Soldier, like, I guess, fan train when I rewatched the Winter Soldier recently. Going back to that Marvel movie is interesting because I always had like this long opinion that it's just every Marvel movie is just another Marvel movie. But then I rewatched Winter Soldier and I'm like, no, this is legit a really well-directed action movie. Both main characters in Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes I really cared about. At the end of Winter Soldier, like, you want like Bucky to remember in that, and then like as you learn of all these terrible things Bucky was forced to do, I think it creates a great dynamic. Don't get me wrong, Thanos also has a really good dynamic in Infinity War. It happens, he won. I think that was like an impressive thing to do as a villain, of course. Then Endgame happens. He's got his big CGI army I don't care about. The Winter Soldier's more grounded. It just, maybe the stakes aren't as big as Thanos's, but the emotion I think's a little more prevalent in the Winter Soldier than, say, by the time Thanos is snapped away in Endgame. You don't care. You're more paying attention to the sacrifice that Iron Man made more than Thanos being defeated.
All right. And why is Trevor the Mandarin better than both of them?
You know?
Oh, I do know. Yeah, I agree.
Fucks. He's the only Marvel villain on this list so far that fucks.
Well, you have a point.
The Mandarin gets laid and Bucky and Thanos don't.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, Thanos is single and has 2 adopted daughters, right?
Yeah.
He's also scared of repopulating due to the fact that the universe already has too much of a population, and the fact of bringing in new life scares him. So he would never procreate or even attempt to. He's too scared.
He saw his dick and screamed.
He doesn't trust his own pullout game, and I respect that. Thanos should have used his like snap wish to wish for like, I don't know, a condom.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, we're putting the quote-unquote Mandarin here, and now we're continuing this debate. I do think it's a good reveal, and I do think it's funny, but I don't think it's genuinely a threat. It's just a decoy. It's a literal punchline. Now, between Winter Soldier and Thanos, I've already kind of said it, but my biggest problem with Winter Soldier is he's actually like not a villain. Like, he's pretty much a mindless robot when he gets in the killing sprees. There's no motivation. Now, if there was like a dual personality thing where it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, a Hulk thing, if you will, where he is cognitive and has memory of doing the bad, he doesn't. He just, he's either a sleeper agent or he's turned on into a killing machine and is punching the face of Tony Stark's father in, which... Again,
but a villain with no like mentally like has no moral like high ground, and he's just doing what he's told, could be a lot scarier than like Thanos, where he's like, I kind of care.
In terms of like a big villain like Thanos, I think they do it well. I mean, I know in Endgame, yeah, and what you were saying, especially about his death scene, is kind of a bruh moment. You're right. It is all about shining a light onto Iron Man and his heroic sacrifice that we saw coming from miles away, and not about the death of this long-term threat to these characters. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of conflicted between these two. I think the better movies come from Winter Soldier, but Civil War is also a bro moment. But Bucky as a character is way stronger than Thanos as a character. But again, this is a villain list.
Bucky is a strong character, but a weak, all things considered.
But Bucky's a stronger character in more than one movie, unlike Thanos. I don't think Bucky's ever really a bad character, even in the worst movies. His arc. He goes through his arc.
I agree.
Man, this is tough.
I would say Thanos over Bucky.
These are two actors I really like also.
Me too.
One might be Luke Skywalker.
Josh Brolin's gonna play Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
That's a weird choice.
I don't know. I favor Winter Soldier, but you might be right on the stronger villain is Thanos.
I also favor Winter Soldier, but it's just, I don't know. He's very like Manchurian candidate, and that's fine. I mean, it's entertaining, but he's interesting because of what he does, not who he is.
The stronger part of Winter Soldier being a villain is when he's no longer a villain and can recount his entire time being brainwashed. Like, that sucks. But that's not him being a villain at that point.
I would argue that Thanos is kind of more of the trope of being interesting for the things he does and not who he is as a character.
Yeah.
I mean, simply put, I mean, the only reason he's even being talked about right now is because he does win. He's the villain who wins in his movie. And more or less, Winter Soldier wins in his movie, too. I mean, there's no resolution there, and he's still off in the wild as this untamable sleeper soldier.
I guess Thanos' backstory, too, is also maybe a little more predictable. I mean, Doctor Strange literally goes, "Let me guess, you're home." And he goes into his spiel, and then he never really mentions Titan again, which I found really weird.
Yeah, no, his backstory's lame.
His planet fell apart, and it was painful, and it sucked. And then he's like, "Yep, I'm on this goal now. I'm on this mission." And the only really like development we see from him is the way he interacts with his daughters. And again, those are scenes that I like. When he sacrifices Gamora in to get the Soul Stone in Infinity War, you kind of realize that, you know, this is what he's doing. He has to make his own sacrifices to even be the person he wants to be, to make but again, his character isn't really anything other than this bad thing happened to me and now I'm going to do these things. Whereas Bucky, he's best friends with the leader of the Avengers, and he like Captain America was frozen and then only awoken to do certain tasks. And I think like the contrast there is really interesting. And yeah, he doesn't even get defeated in the first movie he's established as a villain. It takes another less good movie for him to really be not a cold-blooded killer. So I'm kind of siding with Josh now that the Winter Soldier might be better than Thanos.
I think we're making the right choice.
Yeah, I'm still on Winter Soldier's side.
Well, here it is. The official Duel of the Takes list of the top 36 MCU villains. Number 36, Malekith. Number 35, Ronan. 34, Mysterio. 33, Lo-Fei. 32, Taskmaster. 31, Ghost. 30, General Ross. 29, Dreykov. 28, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. 27, Yellow Jacket. 26, Ulysses Claw. 25, Ego. 24, Jan Rog. 23, Abomination. 22, Ultron. 21, Agatha. 20, Hela. 19, John Walker. 18, Loki. 17, Justin Hammer. 16, The Vulture. 15, Zhu Wenwu. 14, Kingpin. 13, Killmonger. 12, Caecilius. 11, Ironmonger. 10, Dormammu. 9, Aldrich Killian. 8, Kang the Conqueror. 7, Alexander Pierce. 6, Red Skull. 5, Zemo. 4, Whiplash. 3, the Mandarin, Trevor Slattery. 2, Thanos. And number 1, the Winter Soldier.
What a list.
What a list indeed. Mike, what was it like being on an episode of Duel of the Takes?
You know, I'm just still seething about Mysterio.
You're not seething about Whiplash at 4?
Bro, he cut a car in half.
True. He cut 2 cars in half.
It's true.
That was half of their argument.
I'm happy I've gotten Mandarin all the way up to 3.
Josh, you said you had a question for the panel as a closing thought for today's episode. What is it?
Yeah, it doesn't really have anything to do with the MCU, but I was watching Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone the other day with Grace.
Sorry to hear that.
It was, I guess, a remastered edition. It was called Magical Movie Mode.
What?
And throughout it just came out for like the 20th anniversary. And throughout the film, like Chris Columbus pops up and he talks about the scenes or whatever. And there's other stuff around it. I mean, if you're a big Harry Potter fan, it's cool. Like, Jory would love it. But I noticed Christopher Columbus, during the Quidditch scene, he popped up and said, like, you know, someday I want to remaster all of the CGI, put in 3D and IMAX and all that. And it got me thinking, where I was like, what movies, like, from that era, one, would you want to see something like that, not only for Sorcerer's Stone, but movies from that era that has, like, old CGI? And if you do want to see that, what movies do you think would work with something like that?
Do you want a hot take?
Uh-oh.
Sure.
It's a few years after, but I'm thinking Spider-Man 3. You've got Venom and Sandman that I'd like to see remastered in modern CGI.
I don't know. I think Sandman still looks pretty good.
I was about to say, yeah.
I mean, that's just because it can be a big blob and it still works.
The suit being ripped off also looks good.
That's true. You know what? I take that back. Spider-Man 3 is still great.
I don't think you should remaster CG.
Interesting. Why is that?
Well, because where's the line? Because 5 years from now, they're going to want something else. And then you're going to just keep remastering the same shit.
True.
I like to see into the tech and the world that we had at the time. You know, I like to go back and watch a movie from like.
Well, I'm not saying the old movie disappears forever,
but because I like, okay, if I want to go back and watch like an 80s slasher, I want to see how they did these kills practically.
Oh no! I'm thinking like re-rendering certain scenes, like even Black Panther, like that final fight scene, or maybe X-Men Apocalypse or whatever.
Because rewatching the Quidditch scene, like, it's rough. If you want to re-release that in IMAX, you're gonna have to redo it.
Even Avatar, I would be fine if they re-rendered some scenes.
I'm just using that as like of the most exaggerative example I could. Those are objectively cool. Like, I like the practicality of a scene like that. But I think cooler than that, we get to see what you can kind of imagine what it was like in the creation process, and that goes for shitty CGI like the Scorpion King Mummy movie. Or you're right. Even if they did remaster the CG for something like that, you know, the original would still exist. But then, from my own personal enjoyment of a film, I can't foresee myself ever seeking out the new one, other than watching it once and saying, "Oh, that's kind of interesting," and then I would never touch it again.
I would want all versions to, like, be available.
The only one I guess I could seriously get behind that's coming to mind right now is probably like if they remastered Avatar after the 5th one allegedly comes out, because then they'll all be on like a level playing field in terms of CG.
That's fair, I guess.
Yeah, I am kind of with Mike, in which I would rather not see this happen, but I think it's actually kind of more inevitable than we even think. I mean, especially with this rise in streaming, I don't actually think we're gonna see the original versions of the movies again, unfortunately. I mean, Disney's already started to patch like distracting visual effects issues in their shows. They've already re-rendered scenes and then just uploaded them to the streaming service. Like, I think with the death of physical media, we're going to see a rise in the preservation of like bland and forgettable content. So in that world that we live in, I do think that there's a couple of movies from that era that are genuine masterpieces and could use a little bit of touching up, like Christopher Columbus is suggesting in the Sorcerer's Stone. I think there's a lot of questionable CGI in that movie. And I think the Quidditch scene is probably the most distracting. One thing that kind of hurt my most recent rewatch of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which, if you know me, all of those movies are a 5 out of 5 for me. I think the fact that they were able to take Tolkien's work and make it 3.5 long epics works so incredibly well. I think the casting you won't be able to replicate. I think there's so much about that movie that is perfect, but especially in Fellowship of the Ring, there's some like kind of almost laughably bad CGI. And Peter Jackson's an incredible artist known for his practical effects, and all the practical effects, whether it be the forced perspective or a lot of the explosions and stuff like that in the movies being done for real. The cloned armies in the second and third movie, and a lot of the stuff with the disability powers from the ring in the first movie don't work very well. And as long as the original versions are preserved, which it doesn't sound like is going to be a thing, I wouldn't mind that being done, because I think the Lord of the Rings movies are going to be timeless. I think there's definitely isms to their editing style and their presentation, the music, for example, like the original songs in the movie, that kind of make it a product of the early 2000s. But the only thing that I can think that makes it a product of the early 2000s in a bad way is some of those visual effects. So I think that would be an example. Another one that I could see happening, that I wouldn't necessarily disagree with just on the premise of who's doing it, is if the people over at LucasArts decided to fix the prequels. I mean, I think that is something that would make sense, because the thing that makes the prequels really cheesy, besides the dialogue and the acting, is the fact that it was so ambitious with its use of practical effects. I would go and see an IMAX re-release of Phantom Menace with the visual effects being redone to match the quality of the times, because
I agree.
that's already one of my favorite Star Wars movies. And if you could make those environments look more realistic, I don't even care about the characters that are CGI. They look fine. They were made to look a certain way, and they hold up pretty well. It's mostly just the CG environments and things like that I wouldn't mind seeing touched up. But yeah, those are my thoughts for those. I like Alden's idea too with Avatar. I mean, now that we're getting the sequels finally, supposedly, allegedly, I mean, who knows if that's actually happening.
Yeah, they're like a decade away.
Catching that first one up to speed with the rendering engine, the textures and stuff that we have now a decade later, it would be cool. But again, I also think Avatar visually, the spectacle stuff in that movie holds up better than the more practical use of visual effects in like the Lord of the Rings. Like, Peter Jackson only used visual effects because he had to, for the sake of budget. Otherwise, that movie would have cost like $400 million. Like, each of those movies would have cost way, way, way more. And that's the kind of CGI that I wouldn't mind being fixed. The stuff that's in like crucial to the plot is devastating. Like, I would not want to see Blade Runner, the original, redone with special effects, like updated visual effects and things.
Absolutely not.
That would be absolutely terrible.
I think some movies just do it like right, where it is become a little timeless. Like I mentioned it before, in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, Davy Jones as a whole, I don't think he would ever need to be like,
there is no need to re-render that.
The way they lit that character in that, it's perfect. They wouldn't need to change anything. They did a great job with that character.
Sweet. I think that was a solid question to throw out there. Good job, Josh.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that about does it for today. There's some Thursday night football going on. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. And we got to plug M2J2 project. Whenever you guys put out content, it rocks. One question I have for you. What's your favorite thing about the Mortal Kombat lore? Because I'm also a huge Mortal Kombat fan, and when you did your like lore series or start of that, I thought it was really interesting, and I wonder what your favorite attributes of that are, and what do you want to see in this new Mortal Kombat franchise?
All right. Well, I want to see more Cyrax and Sector
Hell yes.
because they get shafted all the time.
Were you a fan of the movie that came out this year?
Yeah. I mean, it's got its issues, but I can't say I didn't get hype as shit.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we saw more of like Shang Tsung. I'm waiting till we get like, I don't know. I hope they do something nutty. I hope we get like Raiko or something.
Yeah.
It sounds like the sequel maybe will actually be the tournament, which I'm very excited for, because that means so many more characters.
Yeah, for sure. I want to see new Cybot in the sequel.
Hell yeah. No, I definitely think the robot ninjas are all underrated. I wouldn't mind seeing Cyber Sub-Zero, Cyrax, Sector. Those were my favorite characters in Mortal Kombat 3 when they were introduced. So
They're cool as hell.
bring them back. Like, we kind of need them.
Just to shake it up, especially Cyrax. Cyrax is the best of them.
Yeah, he is. Well, sweet. Thank you everyone for listening, and woo! Marvel villains forever.
True.